All right, welcome to Life Finds a Way, an analysis of the film Jurassic Park. As I'm sure many of you know, Jurassic Park is a film released in the summer of 1993. It was written and directed by Steven Spielberg, and based off the book by Michael Crichton. The IMDb synopsis lists it as a pragmatic paleontologist must protect a group of kids on an island full of cloned dinosaurs. While in the literal sense that is true, technically the film goes much deeper and has a lot of moral and ethical questions that it raises about the technology surrounding cloning dinosaurs and putting them in a theme park for families to enjoy. Why it is considered sci-fi. Breaking it down into the three different ways you can kind of classify sci-fi movies. It is a teaching story. It goes into great detail about the technology that is used to make the dinosaurs, and again goes into a lot of detail how they were cloned and the like. And it is also, focuses on these creatures are technically dead. It's not magic. They did have to go in and use hard science to bring it back to life. It's also a preaching story. I feel like Ian Malcolm's whole role in the film is kind of just to warn people that, hey, this is not something we should do. He has that great line about your scientists were so concerned with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think about whether or not they should. It's also a speculative story. It raises a lot of questions about man and our place in the world, and should we be able to control these creatures that we have brought back to life? And really, can we? Because dinosaurs break out, spoiler alert, and they kill a lot of people due to humanity's hubris. Getting into the metaphors, allegories, and ideologies in the film. There's some cool metaphors in there. There's the one of Alan Grant at the beginning of the film, using the two different ends of the seatbelt to secure himself as the helicopter's landing, which foreshadows the two female dinosaurs breeding in the park, when in all actuality that technically shouldn't be possible, but life found a way. Some of the allegories, the big question of whether or not man should have the ability to create life, and then the big question that follows that one, is it right for man to control this new life that we have created? The main ideology of the film stems from the idea that human beings are not meant to play God, and that if we try, it will go horribly, horribly wrong. Moving into the representations of gender in the film, the two male protagonists, while both good guys, could not be further apart. Dr. Grant is this stoic, upright person who, doesn't want to do anything wrong, doesn't want children, which is great when compared to Ian Malcolm, his opposite in the film, who has many children, but is a giant kind of womanizing playboy for most of the film. There are also a lot of great female representations in the film. There's Edley Sadler, who is, a great paleobotanist, top mind in her field, equal to Dr. Grant, she never defers to him. They both equally work together. There's also Lexi, John Hammond's granddaughter, who is, very sporty, very athletic, all that stuff, but at the same time knows how to use computers and actually likes using computers, which ends up saving the day in the end, which is great when compared to her little brother, who is an introvert and just could care less about the real world and really likes dinosaurs. Representations of sexuality. The film is not the best at that. I think the only two characters who sexual preferences are expressed are Alan Grant and Ellie Sadler, who are in a relationship. And then there is also Ian Malcolm, who has been divorced several times in the film. Representation of race, while again not the best in Jurassic Park, there are a couple of interesting things to look at. The bulk of the workers in the park are Hispanic, This is due to the fact that the island is supposed to be, this far off Costa Rican kind of black site type deal that John Hammond bought from the Costa Rican government, which explains why it's populated by all these Costa Rican workers. Dr. Arnold, the only African American character in the film, is this great computer engineer and tries to save the day, but is ultimately killed for it in the end. So yeah, moving on to representation of class in the film. I think the class divides are three-layered and really come into focus when you look at John Hammond. Because, there's the workers in the park, all those Hispanic ones that are probably not being paid what they should, considering, some of them have died. Several of them have been injured working with these dinosaurs. And Dennis Nedry, who is the quote-unquote bad guy in the film, him and John Hammond have this great argument about money and all that stuff. And John Hammond throughout the film goes on and on and on about sparing no expense. But he spared the expense in the way that mattered when it came to Dennis Nedry. And that's why Nedry feels he has to steal these dinosaur embryos to kind of make ends meet in his mind. Transhumanism and AI. So technology is not the main issue of the film. It is kind of the lens through which the issue comes around. Dennis Nedry cuts off the park security systems, which leads to a lot of people dying. And all these park systems are fully automated, shouldn't have to work with anybody, which is again one of the reasons that Dennis Nedry feels he is not being paid enough, since he's doing the work of 5 or 6 tech team guys for just one him. Also, transhumanist values. While the dinosaurs are not human, they are still being genetically recreated from DNA scraps. And looking at a lot of the facts surrounding what we do know about dinosaurs, John Hammond should not have been able to get these dinosaurs, fully grown in the amount of time that he says he did without, manipulating their lifespans to the point of changing how quickly they grow. And while in the film they never talk about the human experimentation aspects, in later sequels they do start to get into the fact that while they can clone dinosaurs, it doesn't just have to stop with dinosaurs. It can move on to other things. And there's this great clip of Mr. DNA explaining how all this works.
Donald, sit down. Right, here he comes. Well, here I come.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, John.
Oh, yes. I've got lions.
Well, fine, I guess. But how did I get here?
Well, let me show you. First, I'll need a drop of blood. Your blood.
Right. Oh, John, that hurts. Relax, John. It's all part of the miracle of cloning. Hello, John. Hello, John. Hello.
Hello, John.
From what?
Hello.
Flow extractions never recreated an intact DNA strand.
Not without master sequence count. Good afternoon, John.
DNA from what source? Where do you get 100 million year old dinosaur blood? Shh.
What? Oh, Mr. DNA, where did you come from?
From your blood. Just one drop of your blood contains billions of strands of DNA, the building blocks of life. A DNA strand, like me, is a blueprint for building a living thing. And sometimes animals that went extinct millions of years ago, like dinosaurs, left their blueprints behind for us to find. We just had to know where to look. 100 million years ago, there were mosquitoes, just like today. And just like today, they fed on the blood of animals, even dinosaurs. Sometimes, after biting a dinosaur, the mosquito would land on the branch of a tree and get stuck in the sap. After a long time, the the tree sap would get hard and become fossilized, just like a dinosaur bone, preserving the mosquito inside. This fossilized tree sap, which we call amber, waited for millions of years with the mosquito inside until Jurassic Park scientists came along. Using sophisticated techniques, they extract the preserved blood from the mosquito and, bingo, dino DNA. A full DNA strand contains 3 billion genetic codes. If we look at screens like these once a second for 8 hours a day, it'd take 2 years to look at the entire DNA strand. It's that long. So, it's full of holes. Now that's where our geneticists take over. Thinking machine supercomputers and gene sequencers break down the strand in minutes. And virtual reality displays show our geneticists the gaps in the DNA sequence. We use the complete DNA of a frog to fill in the holes and complete the code. And now we can make a baby dinosaur.
This score is only temporary. It all has very dramatic music, of course. Boom, 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 or a march or something hasn't been written yet. And then, of course, the tour moves on.
All right. Fun times with Mr. DNA. Lastly, the lasting impact of the film. Jurassic Park has popped up in several other pop culture things. It has gotten 4 sequels, and most recently a TV show, countless video games, and other things extended to it. But the biggest production aspect of Jurassic Park is the use of CGI in the film. Steven Spielberg, is so good at creating these big grand spectacles in his movie, and Jurassic Park is no exception. He manages to use not only, practical effects really well with the T-Rex attacking the cars and all that, but, CGI that still holds up to this day. The raptors in the kitchen scene is still one of the greatest of all times. And then the film is just a great inspiration for other directors to kind of go and create the films that they want to. And there's my citations. Thank you all for listening.